I want to talk to you today about something that affects 7% of the people here in the United States every year. You say 7%, that's not too bad, but that figures out in this country to a little over 17 million people. Now, in other countries, maybe wherever you're watching this from, I'm sure the numbers are just as high, if not higher. I'm talking about depression. And what I'm talking about is a severe depression. I'm not talking about being depressed because maybe there's a storm outside and you can't go fishing, or maybe you're not able to go on the vacation you'd planned, or maybe you didn't get that raise at work and you just feel a little blue. I'm not talking about that kind of depression. I'm talking about the kind of depression today that grips a person's mind, that makes you feel like that all hope is lost, and it makes you feel like you cannot go on. This affects everyone. Now, being a minister, I realize there might be people out there today that you might be watching this video and you're a Christian. And you might say, well, if you're a Christian, depression don't affect you, or it won't affect me as a Christian. Well, let me ask you this question. Have you ever had the flu? Have you ever had a headache? Have you ever had a backache? Have you ever had a toothache? If you said yes to any of those, and I'm sure you did most of them, as most all of us will, what you are talking about are ailments and illnesses that you might have, sicknesses that might come up on your body. The depression I'm talking about is that kind of illness or disease, and it is truly an illness. And as I said, it's not talking about being depressed over an event that gets canceled or something to that effect. I'm talking about what plays with your mind. I want to give you today 2 pieces of advice on depression, and I could say a lot more than what I'm going to say, but this is what I feel like I need to say now. As a matter of fact, my next video was planning on being on something else, but I felt the Lord lay this upon my heart, so maybe wherever you're watching this from, whether you're a Christ follower or not, maybe you needed to hear this. But I want to give you 2 tips today if you are struggling with depression. Number 1 is this, and this one goes really to the person that might be around somebody that has depression. First thing is this: recognize it as a problem. Recognize it as a problem for that individual. Don't shun them, don't push them off. Watch for signs on a person that could be suffering depression. You will see it when they begin to lose interest in things they used to have interest in, when they begin to maybe stand off to themselves just a little bit and act like there's no joy and they have no hope. When you see that in an individual, don't pass it off as, oh, that person's just blue, but be there for that individual. Be there to help that individual, because you might be that angel that God sends their way to help encourage them during this time. Sometimes when a person goes through this, you look for somebody to grab onto. And I'm going to stop right now and say this for a moment. You might say, are you a doctor? No, I'm not a doctor. But I do have a strong concept of depression, and that is because I went through it. About 20 or so years ago, I went through a bad case of depression. And it wasn't due to anybody around me or anything around me at the current moment. But basically what I ended up finding out a little bit later was it all went back to when I lost my father at a young age. But it was about a year before I come down with this bad case of depression. Losing my father was, I don't think it was just that caused the depression, but I think one of the things was, as I seen my father get sick, some of the things that I went through and stuck out in my mind, I think that stayed with me, and it kept building and building. And it was basically some of the things that I seen him go through during this time. That ended up causing me to go into depression. I was a preacher at the time. I had began my ministry. But do you know what? It hit me just like a toothache or just like a sickness that might come up on someone, because that's what it is. It's an illness. It's an illness when something happens to you. A lot of times it's an event or something really emotional that will happen to you that will affect your brain, basically. And a lot of times you have to get help. And so, again, be there for that person. Now, today, I see people and I can usually tell if they're battling this. I had a friend that battled it here quite a few years ago, and I knew as soon as he started acting funny, I knew exactly what was wrong with him. And together, I was able to help him pull through it as well. But when I went through my battle, my wife was my, I guess if you ever watched the Peanut movies or the Charlie Brown movies, if you ever seen them and you've seen Linus with the blanket, she was my security blanket. Because at that moment, I was going through things and I was praying as best I could, but I just needed somebody to pray for me. I needed somebody to be there with me, and she was. She helped me through this terrible time in my life. And so I'm telling you today, if you see someone that's going through something today, don't turn them away. Pray for them and be there to help them emotionally. Let them know that you're there. Let them know that you're a friend, and let them know that they can make it. And now the second piece of advice is to maybe, if you are suffering from this, there's a lot of things we could go into, but I'm just going to cover really the two that God laid upon my heart. And this second one is this: try to fill your mind with positive things. And I'm talking to everyone right now. I don't care who you are, or I don't care even if you're not yet following Christ. Try to fill your mind with positive things. Try to listen to upbeat music. Try to listen to or watch good, wholesome things that would make you laugh and make you smile. Because the thing is a lot of times if you listen to music that will depress you, music about things that are depressing, or watch movies that are about things that are depressing, it's just going to pile on your situation. So I know I was told when I went through this, one thing to do, they said, is, keep your rooms lit, keep your light on, and said the light helps you take walks outside and do these type of things. Be upbeat and try to do it as much as you can. Again, listen to things that are good and listen to things that promote life and promote happiness, because that's what you're feeding your mind. The Bible tells us today as a Christian, what we put in our body, that's what we're feeding our body. If you want to be a strong Christian, you need to put good, godly things in your life. Just like today, if you fill your body, physical body, with junk food and all these things that aren't good for us, you're going to hurt yourself physically. And so the same thing is true today with emotional, what I'm talking about. And I'm not talking just to, even if you don't know Christ yet, I believe that you'll find him. But even if you don't, try to fill your mind with positive things, because when you get into depression, you feel like all hope is lost. And the Bible tells us today that as long as we have breath in our body, we have hope. The Bible said that whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. So I'm telling you today, don't give up. Feed your mind today with good things. Watch TV shows that'll make you laugh and make you smile. And try to do things that brings a smile to your face. Don't just sit in your room or sit in a place and all dark and dreary and let your mind, you've got to try to fight it and you've got to try to overcome it. But just like you might have a toothache, you can overcome that toothache. Just like you might have a headache, or you might have a backache, or you might have the common cold, you can overcome those things. And so too, you can overcome this. Don't give up, keep pushing forward. God loves you. God bless you. And we'll catch you on the next video. Let me add this today. If you're watching and you are new here, we do have other Bible teaching. We try to do videos on teaching and singing. And then every once in a while we throw in videos maybe of our family doing a little something. So maybe that'll entertain you. So please hit that subscribe button before you leave. And we want to see you on the next video.